welcome back to another episode of Shutter and Chill.
Better and chill. Boop,
Oh,
boop, boo.
fuck, your camera's still off.
Oh, shit.
Welcome.
Even those batteries, huh?
Yeah,
Same.
yeah, yeah. Saving
Welcome.
is better.
Welcome back to another episode. We got a super special guest today, Mr. Dennis. Thank you for coming on today. Super
Can't get
excited
my
for this
focus.
podcast.
Thank you for having me, guys. Thank you for having me. Blessed, honored to be your second guest.
Super big guest for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us about you. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just get into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you guys want to know? You guys are the you guys got the questions lined up, right? So you
When
tell
did you
me.
start, how long have you been doing this?
Well, I mean, my photography journey started probably. I mean, to be honest, I had an interest in. I'm gonna go way back here. Maybe I'm gonna bore you guys, but I had an interest in photography when I was a kid. I would always collect like photography magazines. I'd always just kind of look at like the different camera brands and that kind of stuff. But it was more just kind of like I don't know. It was a thing back then. And then I went into completely a little bit different sort of path. I went into music. So I went to audio
Oh,
engineering
wow.
school, digital music. I was a DJ for a really long time. Grew up in like the rave scene in Vancouver. Jungle DJ, drum and bass music. Like that was my
Oh,
life for
yeah.
like 5 years. 6 years I was kind of doing that scene for a long time, like club nights and all that kind of stuff. And then started producing my own music, doing all that kind of stuff. I had a dream to go down to London. I went to London for a while because that was like where all the cool like underground dance music was coming from at the time as well. And so it kind of did that thing for a little bit, but then decided it wasn't really like the sometimes when you have like a passion and a hobby, making it a career or a profession is not always like you kind of learn quickly, like maybe it's not always the same thing, or it's not the romantic idea that you had in your head.
Right, right.
So that was kind of what music was for me, like when it started to become like more of a work thing. It was less kind of interesting in that way, and I think I learned that music was more like kind of a passion and a hobby, and not like a career for me at that time. So I went back to school, did a whole bunch of business classes, did like I finished my MBA, did like business management and all that kind of stuff as well. I opened a fashion business and I ran that in Canada for about 11 years, and
Oh,
then
wow.
sold that before I came to Japan, and then started my photography thing here. I've been living here for about 4.5 years, so I would say I started photography in 2015. When I first started coming to Japan, that was like the first time that I arrived in Japan. I bought a Sony, I think it was an A6000 mirrorless at that time in 2015. And I was like, oh, I'll just go in and take a few like cool, like touristy shots and this and that. I didn't really know what I was going to take photos of. And immediately I found myself gravitating towards street photography and like capturing people, in Japan. And that was like, I don't know why. I just kind of went into that direction. And then I would go back to Canada. I would start just dreaming about coming back to Japan and taking more photos. So I would come back to Japan, go back to Canada, come back to Japan, go back to. So I was doing that for about 3 to 4 years. And at one point, I was coming back here like 3 months on, go back to Canada 3 months, come back for 3 months, go back again for three
Damn.
months. So it was like
Mm.
at one point I was living in my office on the second floor and renting out my apartment because I was gone so much to Japan. And my staff were always just like, "So you're going back to Japan, huh?" Like, okay. I was like, "Yeah, you guys got this, right? I'll see you guys in 3 months." I would just kind of work remotely in Japan and take photos, basically. And it became kind of an addiction. And then COVID happened, and I was like, okay, like, I got to start making a decision whether I kind of move here full time or sell the business or whatever. And because COVID happened, nobody knew what was going to happen. Like we all thought the world was going to end, kind of thing.
Right,
And
right.
that was almost like a blessing in disguise for me. So it was kind of like it kind of opened the door for me to sell the business and to get out and to kind of make my dream come true and move to Japan finally and do the photography thing full time.
Wow. So
Yeah.
what was like your fashion business? What were you selling over
Mm.
here?
So I was doing B2B. So I was on the business side more. So I was kind of doing wholesale and distributing, importing, distributing fashion brands, but like street photography, street photography, streetwear brands. So like
Okay.
more up and coming international brands, like from Europe, from Australia. At one point, I was starting to make my own T-shirt line, and I was importing T-shirts from Japan and creating my own sort of T-shirt label, selling
Mm.
like made in Japan T-shirts in Canada, and just yeah. So I would sell to other stores. So we were doing like B2B, and we would be kind of like the exclusive distributor for different streetwear brands and that kind of stuff. So I did that for yeah, I was in that game for like 11 years. A lot of good times, a lot of
Mm.
stress, but yeah, I built up that business, and yeah, it was cool, but time to get out and do something different.
Do you ever miss it?
Uh, I mean, no, no, like 11 years is a long time to put, into any one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, yeah, I think I had a passion. I always have a passion for building, like building things, like now I'm doing the same thing here, but I'm, kind of doing the photography thing and building my business again. So it's always kind of like for me, it's like, okay, I got to go from here to here. How do I get to those steps? And it's always kind of like problem solving and like trying to like figure out like what's my next step. And it's kind of like the challenge. I live for that challenge every day, like to get up and be like, okay, what's my challenge today? Because if I just had to go to a 9 to 5 and just like, go through the motions, I'd be so bored. I would, if I didn't have that sort of like that spark for being creative in some way, to use my brain in kind of to its almost full capacity, to problem solve. Yeah, I would just be super bored. I don't even think I would live in Japan, like if I was really doing that.
You wouldn't be, yeah.
It's just a different game, when
Mm.
you're living that sort of lifestyle. So
So,
for me, I always got to be, that's why I've been on my own as an entrepreneur now for 15 years. So I haven't worked at a company or anything like that for that entire time. So
that's super sick.
So when you
yeah.
got to like when you finally decided to like come like you were gonna live in Japan, like what was your next step? Like what was your next move then? Like because like you were because like for example, me and Cruz like we're always looking to try to like expand on the photographer front. But like how did you get started out here? Like
I mean, my biggest thing is like if I can give anyone sort of any advice is like not to overthink it so much and just do it. Just get out there and start doing it. And the more kind of the more action you take on a daily basis, even if it's like small little steps, small little actions. If you're putting yourself out there, obviously the more you shoot, the better you're gonna get. It's like it's like anything. It's like going to the gym. Same thing. The more repetitions you do, the more training you do, the more like your body's gonna get fit. The more you're training those muscles, right? It's the same. It's kind of like a photography muscle. It's the same thing. So I mean, me literally, I shoot almost daily,
mm,
so I'm always shooting, I'm always editing, I'm just living that life, as fully and as kind of intensely as possible. So I'm always doing, and if I'm not doing those things, I'm up in the morning and learning, on YouTube or whatever, like kind of going through. I'm always educating myself and trying to like so it's like it's really kind of like just living that lifestyle, not kind of being a part-timer in that sense. It's like you if you're gonna go for it, you go for it, and you're in it deep. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that kind of answered your question or not, but
right.
like that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of like it's not like you can't really be like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like
Right, right,
it's like
right.
if you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What challenges have you like? Would you say is the, like what? Sorry, what are the biggest challenges from moving to Japan and starting your business that you have faced?
Um, well, I mean, moving to a new look. I mean, I've had a company in Canada where I'm from, and I've had a company now. I mean, like a company. It's a one man company in Japan, right? But that's funny because I can kind of compare both. Like in terms of just like in terms of like the admin side of things,
Mm.
and running a Canada with employees that was much bigger. Was much easier in Canada than it is in Japan with just me. Like I don't have staff, I don't have employees or anything like that. So yeah, it just like there's a lot more sort of admin kind of stuff to take care
Mm.
of in Japan. There are a lot more sort of like red tape, bureaucratic
Right,
in that
right.
sense. And then on top of that, because you got to kind of figure everything out, it's all in Japanese,
Mm.
as well. It's not your native language. It's not like,
Mm.
it's already hard enough to kind of like understand business things in your own language. Now
Right.
try doing that with like a bunch of letters that are coming all like written in kanji and, this and that,
Ugh,
so it's a,
yeah.
it's a whole other game, like for all that kind of stuff. But you get used to it. You have, you gotta it's a bit more expensive to run a business here because like for me I have to have like a lawyer. I have to have an accountant,
Right.
people that can specialize in helping you kind of navigate the system better because things that I would be used to kind of doing on my own in Canada, not so much here in Japan. You're
Yeah.
gonna need some help, you know
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Do you
That's very
plan
true.
on growing your photography into something like you did in Canada, where you do have employees and you do have staff and
Yeah,
people?
I mean, I'm on a business manager visa, so I mean that that's what Japan is kind of like expecting of me, for sure. So like they want me to grow the business into a place where I have staff as well. So I mean that is a game plan. I mean it's something that it takes time. It's not something that I think you can kind of like just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna hire a bunch of people and have a photography business. Like you gotta build the clientele. You gotta build a business and get to a certain sort of like point where you're secure enough in your income and everything. And
Right.
now I'm
Right.
kind of getting, I think the last 2 years have been really good in terms of growing the business on my side and being profitable enough that like we can start to kind of talk about next steps. So that's probably going to be the next evolution, like getting myself like a real proper studio, maybe setting up a cool like kind of studio slash cafe slash meeting spot slash workshop area slash, like
Dang,
uh
that's super
you know
sick.
Yeah, that'd be kind of
yeah,
crazy.
so
Yeah.
that's kind of like the next phases and next steps that I'm thinking about. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
So, can I get into like the street photography stuff? Because I got a bunch of questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, like so. So first off, like, what is? How do you navigate like the ethics of it? Like, you're going snapping people's pictures. Like, do you think it's okay? I mean, is it okay to get like candids of people, or have you had anybody say anything to you like, hey, don't take pictures of me, or if they see their picture online, they'll be like, hey, do they have you ever had anybody say, oh, hey, yo, take that down because I don't want pictures of me on your thing or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. I think we kind of had like a little kind of back and forth in one of the in the good room online
Yeah,
chat as well.
yeah.
I'm very passionate, so if I got something to say, I'm gonna say it,
Mm,
especially if it comes to something I truly believe in.
mm,
And for me, this is something I'm really passionate about. And yeah, so look, everyone has their opinion. I respect everyone's opinion when it comes to things like privacy, um, for sure. However, when you're out in public, there is no real, I guess, sort of legal, how can I say, expectations for privacy. You're in a public space, right? If you're in your own home, or you're, like maybe on private property or in a private setting, of course that's 100% wrong, because then you're getting into a different type of photographer,
Right,
and that's
right,
more like
right.
tabloid and like all that kind of stuff. And yes, I can totally understand. But if you're on the street, it's a public place. I think that there is no real sort of like, there shouldn't be an expectation of 100% privacy. However, every photographer also has to have their own sort of like set of personal ethics, I
Right.
think, as well. That's also really important. And
Mm,
everyone's going to be different. Like for me, my rules are really simple. I try to put myself in the place of the people that I'm taking photos of. And if I think that they would not want to have those types of photos published of them, I'm not going to take those photos. For example, like a homeless person, right?
mm,
They're down on their luck. It's not for me to go and take their photos when they're in a weaker or weakened sort of position in life. Maybe they're, like I said, they're down on their luck. They're going through tough times, whatever. Unless unless I'm bringing some sort of attention to their cause in a positive manner.
mhm,
You
mhm,
understand?
Okay. Yeah.
mhm,
So
mhm,
if I'm doing it solely for my own benefit and only because I want to make cool photos, that's no for me,
mm,
right? So, but if I'm doing it in a way that I can be, add something of value to them,
mm,
then I'll do it. But for example, if I'm taking photos of people walking out on the streets, I mean, to me, I don't think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. And a good way for me to kind of like put it is also like, if we had banned street photography or taking photos of people in public places, and this was kind of like a societal norm, since the advent of photography, let's say, we would be missing out, the world, I'm talking about the world, we would be missing out on some like really important photos,
mm,
cultural photos that have stood the test of time. Um, you know, People were not asking, like documentarians, wartime photographers. They were not. They weren't asking for people's permission to shoot.
mm,
When really important things were going down, and I can name a lot of photos, for example, that have changed the course of history,
mm,
just through photography, that were candid photos,
mm,
like no, and no permission was granted, and they were still printed and all that kind of stuff. So um yeah, I think that's kind of like my take on it. When I'm out on the streets, and I always tell is that I run workshops, like street photography workshops as well.
mm,
And so like to all the students that like come to my workshops as well, I try to preach more mindset than
mm,
technique, if that makes sense. Like
mm,
technique
mm.
is great, like you have to have the technique, and that's like something anyone can really learn over repetition, kind of like, it's like school, right? Like you're just kind of
Mm.
practicing the same thing over and over again until you get good at it.
Right.
But mindset is really difficult, I think, to
Can you
master.
elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, mindset is just like the way that you approach going out onto the streets, and the sort of like the where you are in your brain, like in your mental state when you're going out on the street. So, for example, people that are really shy to take pictures of people, right? Like in public spaces, that's totally normal. I totally get it. I was there, like everyone has that sort of like little bit of fear, right?
Mm,
But the more that you do it, and the more that you get into a mindset where you start to you 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 have to go into it thinking that like, hey, what I'm doing, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not doing anything creepy. I'm not doing anything, that's disrespectful to people. I'm just out here documenting life with my camera. That's all I'm doing, And when you go into it with that mindset, instead of being the super like creepy guy that's like, really awkward and really tense and really nervous, and you're, maybe you have like a telephoto zoom and you're hanging behind plants and walls, and like if you're that guy, and that's your mental state, other people are going to notice that,
Noticed it.
right?
Yeah,
And other
yeah.
people are going to start looking at you and being like, who's that weirdo that's like, like with a camera that's, acting all weird. And what you're doing is you're affecting the whole. It's like throwing a rock into a pond, into a lake, and then you start to you see all the ripples, right?
Mhm.
Mm,
Like, we don't want those ripples when we're doing street photography. We want as as clear a surface as possible, because
mm,
we want to document what's happening. We don't want people to react to what we're doing, you
mm.
Exactly.
know,
Yep.
like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
that,
that's why, like, if I ask for permission from someone, well, that's not street photography anymore.
right. Now she's
That,
posing, or now
yeah,
he's
that's
posing.
like
Yeah.
that's just like street portraits,
Right, right,
like
right.
that's for example.
Mm,
So, like, when you go into it with that mindset that you're just out there documenting life, people don't, I promise you, people don't even, they won't even like notice you at all. You
mm,
know how often I walk around with a camera and I'm like literally like right in front of someone snapping their photo, and they just don't even know that I'm there. They don't even feel that I'm there, because I pretend like I'm supposed to be there. Like, that's
right.
my mindset. I'm supposed to be there,
Mm,
So other people don't get weirded out by it. In the off chance that it happens sometimes, like for example, I've had it happen in like Kabukicho,
mm.
probably a little bit more often than not, because it's I can understand, in
Yeah,
these places, people are probably doing things that are a little bit sketchy, and they don't want to have their,
right,
kind of that fame or notoriety by being published online or something like that.
right,
So
right.
in that case, you might have some yakuza, you might have some other, people doing like some other shady business, whatever. I've had people that are like, hey, sora dame, like,
Mm,
and that's totally cool.
mm,
I erase the photo,
mm,
and everyone goes their own way, and that's it.
I've gotten my photo taken in Fook. I was just shooting in the street, and
mm.
older lady came up and started taking pictures of me, and I was confused because I was looking at her, and I'm like, "What are you?" I thought she was trying to take a picture of the building. Like, I'm trying to move out of the way for her so she could get her picture. And I had some friends with me that spoke Japanese, and she was saying that, "Oh, you took a picture of me," and I was like, "No," like I'm trying to show her. She goes, "I can't believe you. Even if I see, how do I know you're not hiding something?" And then drove off on her bike, and I was like,
Oh
okay."
my God.
And also we have some stuff from the comments. Spiral BXL says street photography makes life life. You feel
Mm.
me, cuz? And Fat Biscuit says ingrains points in histories. They also said you were spitting.
That I was
Spitting.
spitting.
Yeah, you're spitting facts.
Like,
Uh,
Oh, spitting
I was
facts.
spitting
Oh,
facts.
okay. I was
Okay.
like, what?
I was like, maybe it's the ice cream. I don't know. I was just eating
he's
some.
like, can you stop?
Like,
I didn't notice anything.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
but
funny.
yeah, I mean, like, look, like, to kind of get like to wrap that up. It's more like a lot about, like I said, your mindset and your attitude, right?
Mhm.
It's amazing how many times, like, people that you might get busted, you might get people like, looking at you, whatever, kind of awkward or funny or like kind of suspicious or whatever, having just a smile on your face, holding up your camera, and just being like kind of smiling and whatever. It's like when you get into that sort of like when people kind of see that side of you, they just kind of get disarmed right away.
Mm.
Like they feel kind of like, ah, okay, like it's like, they're happy, smiling, whatever. So it's really about your personality and the way that you're out on the street, and more than anything. And it helps that a lot of the time I shoot in places like Shimbashi, or like places where people are just going out and getting drunk.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so like half the time if I do get caught, I get a lot of these,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
people that want to be in the pictures,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
That's always the
That's
best when you go shoot and people are drunk.
yeah,
Everyone wants the
yeah.
photo.
Everybody wants the photo. Camera's
yeah.
camera's life right there.
Your camera, you got a camera. You're the guy.
So that actually lead me to the next question. Like when you're out in the street, like what is your creative process when you're like trying to like look like what is a shot for you?
I mean, That's a hard question to kind of answer. I think everyone has their own sort of eye that they develop over time, and that's I think what makes every photographer unique.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, kind of going back to the whole mindset thing again. When I go out to shoot, this is why I also always teach when I'm talking about street photography, and I teach like other students as well. I always tell them, like get yourself a prime lens. Why? One, because I do a lot of night photography, so obviously they're much faster, so you can shoot wide open, you get a lot more light going into your lens. But as importantly, I think it's also about like putting yourself into that frame.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, when like I'll shoot 24, 30. I'll go from like 16, 24, 35, 50, sometimes maybe 85, but
Mm-hmm.
usually I'm in that 35, 50, 24, prime lens zone. And so every time I'm going out to shoot, I'm always thinking in my head, okay, what do I want to shoot tonight, what do I want to show tonight, like what frames are in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll predetermine what I'm going to shoot that night before I go out and shoot, and I put myself into that frame of mind because I already know what a 24 millimeter frame looks like. I know what a 35 millimeter frame looks like. I know what a 50 millimeter frame looks like because I've been shooting them, for so long, right? So I've already put myself into that frame of mind before I even go out to shoot. So that's the frames that I'm looking for when I'm shooting.
That's
If
a
I
good
go out
point.
with a zoom lens, what are you shooting? You have like you're just sitting in one spot and zooming in and out,
Right.
and one minute you're 24, the next minute you're 55, the next minute you're like 48. You know what I mean? Like so you're
Right.
all mixed up and you're not really making those frames anymore. So just never mind that like zoom lenses also are not as fast as prime lenses, but just for that aspect alone, I think it's like really important. So it's like I said, it's like kind of that mental game, that
Yeah.
so that's when I start to look for, okay, tonight I'm shooting 50, I'm looking for 50 millimeter kind of frames,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
and maybe that's the way I would approach, like going out to shoot at night.
Well, like, what are your if you're doing street photography, like, what are your go-tos? Like your go like 50. I think everybody raves about a 50. I still need to get a prime 50, but like
Yeah, the nifty
50s, like
50s,
what?
man. Those are the like you
Yeah.
got to have one in your bag for sure.
But yeah, what other lenses like are your go-tos?
Yeah, man, just depends like which what kind of shooting I want to do. Like if I want to do, I would say my go-tos, and also depends on the area. Right. For
Mm,
example, I do a lot of my workshops in Shimbashi, so I'm shooting in Shimbashi a lot. So I know that when I go to Shimbashi, I have the most success when I'm shooting personally on a 50 millimeter. Because I know that like for example, there maybe that's the type of aesthetic that I find that I'm liking, a little bit more cropped in, a little bit closer, like to the subject. I don't need those super wide, expansive shots that I might get on a 24 or even a 16. I've tried, for example, shooting a 16 in Shimbashi. I just couldn't. I wasn't feeling it, like for that
mm,
sort of thing. But if I go to Kabukicho, or somewhere maybe like that, shooting on a 16 is maybe a lot more fun,
mm,
like for me. So it just really depends on the area that I'm going to. But I would say mostly I shoot a lot like 35 to 50-ish range.
mm.
Yeah, I would say like those are kind of my go-tos.
It's
And
definitely
that's
an
for
interesting way to go out and shoot, like planning the frame ahead of time. I
right.
never thought about it like that, honestly.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to take like yeah 50 millimeter shots, and then like I'm assuming like you're like going like the lowest f stop or something like that, like 1.4.
I mean, I use I mean, I'm blessed that you'd be using a Sony GM, 50 at 1.2.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Tokyo has, I mean, I think it's rare that like you're really like going all the way shooting wide open to 1.2. I mean, there's
Mm,
a lot of light like in
mm,
a lot of places that you're shooting in
mm,
anyways. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, you're shooting pretty wide open. So yeah.
Mm, mm, mm.
What do you like
Yeah.
more, street photography or studio?
Well, I don't know, man.
That's a great
That's a tough
question.
one.
Yeah, that's a
I love, I mean, street photography. I got all the time in the world for that. It was my first love, my first passion. I still love it. Um, I think that like they're kind of two very different things. Like street photography for me is like that. I'm not like a group street photographer.
Hmm.
You know, like people that like, hey, let's all go out and like do like a street photography session and this and that. Whenever I do that, I end up like kind of going to meet the group, and then 5 minutes later, I'm off by myself somewhere. Like so like I'm gone for the rest of the evening because like
good.
I just can't like. And if I do stick around with the group, I'm not shooting at all. I'm just socializing.
Hmm.
Right, right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm either doing one or the other, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm doing street photography, it's more of a personal thing, I think, like more of a one-on-one. Um, like I don't even listen to music, and I love music, right? But I don't even listen to music when I'm doing street photography. Why? Because like for me, I want to be so immersed
Right.
that scene. I want to hear everything that's
Mm,
happening. I want to see everything. I want to smell. I want to touch. I want all my senses to be, kind of like taking in that scene. And if I'm listening to music, I'm in a whole different world. I'm not part of that scene anymore, you know?
mm.
So if that makes sense. So like
That
for
makes
me,
a lot of
like
sense.
street photography is more of that personal kind of like personal time, and
Mm,
and if I'm really kind of being serious about it, I'll do it by myself, you know.
mm.
Whereas obviously working in a studio, you're you're not going to do that by yourself. You're going to be doing that with other people or like with another model or like that sort of thing, you
Right,
know.
right.
So it's a more social, I think, like kind of a type of shooting, I think, you know.
Mm, mm.
So
How does
So
your
yeah, I mean, each has its own, and like in studio, it's awesome because like you can just set up all the lights like exactly how you want them to be. You're designing everything from scratch. So for a lot of people, that's a lot of pressure, but it's also a lot of fun. Like you can be super creative with it as well. Whereas when you're doing street photography, you're having to look for the light. You're not really creating it. You're just
mm,
looking for where the light is, kind of where the light is good. So
mm, mm, mm.
I don't know if I answered your question there,
Yeah,
Justin, but
yeah, you
they
did.
both,
You
they
did.
both got their their benefits, and yeah.
Foxy, you got one?
So, I'm thinking since we're on street photography, I was gonna ask all of those questions first,
Go ahead.
but
You got it.
um, no, I think that's about it. Yeah, yeah. Let's get into this session stuff. So, like, uh, how does your gear differentiate between the two? Like when you're like between, because you can still kind of do like studio sessions with the 50, but do you really like differentiate like much with your like choices on like either lens or camera?
No, I mean, like sorry, yes, I do actually, because like when I'm doing street photography, like for example, I told you before, like like for me, don't even bother bringing a zoom lens like that.
Mm,
I just won't do it.
mm,
But when I'm in the studio, I actually do. That's the only thing I use. I don't use a prime. In the
mm,
street, you have a lot more room, obviously, to kind of move around. So like if
mm,
I see a frame like in a 50
mm.
and I'm not close enough, I can literally just kind of walk
Up
further
to
and
it, yeah.
closer,
Mm,
like to where I want to be. And I can also do the same walking back, like walk to the side, whatever. There's usually room to move around. In a studio environment, not so much, especially when you're in a studio in Tokyo, where space is like my space is like quite limited, like
mm,
so
mm,
I mean I gotta be, I gotta maximize that. So the best way to do that is with a zoom lens. And with a zoom lens, you don't need to be shooting wide open. Most of the time, you're shooting you know, if you're using flash gear, then you're shooting, like from f5 to f, 7, 8, whatever, like in that range.
Mm,
Uh, and if you're doing strictly RGB, then yeah, okay, you'll need like a little bit more faster lens,
mm,
and a prime lens could be good at that time, but you can just like, you know, bump up your ISO and
mm.
kind of get away with it. But I like that when I'm in the studio with a zoom, I can get a lot of different looks.
Right,
So I
right,
can get
right,
like the wide, and I don't have to be switching lenses and all that kind of stuff.
right,
So
right,
that's just
right.
for the lens side of things. But camera, I use a Sony A7 IV, and that's what I use for street or studio. It doesn't really
Hmm.
matter.
How long you been using that?
The A7 IV has been, I think, like 2.5 years now.
Mm,
Something like that. I had the A7 III. I still have it as my backup. Always have a backup camera. That's one thing I learned. You know,
mm.
in
I
my
need to
my
get another camera.
yeah, you always got to have a backup camera. I went to actually a shoot. This was maybe 3 years ago, I think, at that time, and I had brought my A7 III at that time. I went to a shoot. There was like stylists, hair, makeup, three models. We rented a place, kimono shoot, really cool. Like whole scene was set up, all that kind of stuff. And as soon as we got everything set up, I went to go take the first test shot, and the shutter on my A7 III broke, kaput,
Oh,
done, finished.
oh
I didn't
no.
even know at that time that that was like a thing that could happen.
Yeah.
And I look at I took off my lens, and I look at the shutter, and it was like half broken, like the shutter, it was like completely
Oh,
off. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, and I had no idea what to do because I didn't bring another camera, I had nothing.
right.
But I had an assistant with me that day that had a Canon that I've never used the Canon, like at all. And he's like, just use my camera. So I had to go through the whole shoot using a camera I've never used before. Like, didn't know where all the
Oh,
settings were. This, that. The shots came out pretty cool, I gotta say. Like, I was really proud of myself for like being able to get through it. But after that, I was like, okay, from now on, for sure, you got to have a backup camera with you, because like if
yeah.
that happened on like a
Oh,
real big client shoot, or like
yeah.
something like that, like that's you know yeah.
Oh
That
my
sounds like
God,
your
that
worst
sounds
nightmare.
Oh
right.
man, that was
Oh my
crazy.
That's
It was
God.
literally like
heartbreaking, right?
the first like one or two shots I took, like it was just
Oh,
like gone, finished.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, the pain. Oh my God.
that makes so sick to my stomach.
It's
Yeah.
facts. I think oh my
That
God.
makes so sick to my stomach.
Oh, that'd been
But
so good.
I got the shutter fixed, and then I got the Sony A7 IV, and the same thing happened with my A7 IV. The shutter broke.
What?
Yeah.
What
So I
caused
at
that?
one
Yeah,
point,
it sounds, yeah, it sounds like something's causing it.
nah, I mean, it just apparently it's a thing, with Sony's, like with the A7
What?
Anyways,
series.
Cannon for the win.
Yeah.
No, no,
That's the
not at
ultimate of
Yeah.
Cannon right there.
But it was actually like not as expensive to fix as I thought it was going to be. It was something like Sunman, like
all. Oh, really? Oh
yeah,
shit. Yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't too bad.
Just the
yeah. That's
It took a
actually
PTSD.
little bit of time. Yeah.
mm.
Just get the PTSD.
Oh,
That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Oh man.
So,
So
um,
you got a question?
yeah, I was gonna say, so speaking like in at like your portrait sessions and stuff like that, what do you do to like build rapport with your models?
Uh, that's a good question. I mean, I've been fortunate, like I think, like in terms of just being I being told always that, like, for my models and stuff, that like I'm good at making people kind of feel comfortable in that sense. And I think that's like, I don't know, I mean, I think that's just like part of being socially kind of, like, I'm not gonna say like I'm like a super socially like adept guy. I'm good in one-on-one or very small group situations. I'm horrible in big party settings, or
Mhm.
like in when there's a ton of people around, like I just kind of I get lost in that sort of scenario. But
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm,
it's like very like kind of small intimate sessions, I'm very able to kind of get I think I think I'm good at being able to kind of get into like kind of the more deeper side of things, like
mm,
with people, and like kind of make people feel more kind of comfortable to be a little bit more open up, and get into like a little bit less of the surface level stuff, and more kind of like, make people feel like kind of comfortable, like in that sense.
mhm,
I think that's
mhm.
the most
So
important thing, honestly.
yeah, like if you're
Yeah,
awkward and kind of like really surface level about it, and you're boring, like in that sense too, like
It's gonna
people
rub
are
off on
probably not.
people.
Yeah, it
yeah,
probably will show in the photos, but
yeah,
usually I have a really good rapport with my models, and plus, like, I'm not just talking about like collaboration or client shoots, or I do client shoots like 3, 4, 5 times a week, as well. So I'm shooting a lot with like different people. I'm meeting new people all the time,
Mm-hmm.
so like it's kind of part of my job as well at this point too, where it's like I have to be good at talking and meeting
right,
new people all the time,
right,
and in a very, very short amount of time that I have with them, I
mm,
have to build like a rapport with them really quickly,
mm,
like with and maybe I have an hour to shoot with them,
Mm-hmm.
right,
and in that hour I got to be like really like, I got to make them feel comfortable. That's part
mm,
of the game.
yeah.
And so I
How do
think.
you deal with the language barrier though?
Well, I mean, I speak enough Japanese. For example, like if I work with Japanese models, like
Mm,
I do speak like enough Japanese to be able to kind of like have conversations, make jokes, like,
mm,
and
mm,
make people like, have fun, like in that sense. I mean, the whole point, like, it comes down to having fun,
Yeah.
mm, mm,
like if
mm,
you're able to make jokes and have fun with people,
mm,
that makes all the difference in the world. Like people forget about the language problems, the language barriers, like
mm,
all that kind of stuff. Like even if you don't speak like, 95% of the language, or you know what I mean? Like as long as you're able to kind of get through it and like make people laugh,
mm,
you're disarming them,
Mm-hmm.
mm,
in that way, you're not being like super awkward about it, or whatever. Then I think people just generally kind of will open up to you. Like
mm,
that's the whole key. Make people smile, and like
It's
they'll
just
yeah,
they'll
it's
eat out of the
it's
palm
good
of your
all around.
hand. Yeah.
yeah,
It definitely makes it enjoyable for the client, or the model in a sense, but also the photographer. I think when everyone's kind of like nervous and
Yeah.
stiff, and you know what I mean, and not really talking and conversating, I think it's not it. It's not a good time for
No,
us as a
not at all.
photographer, and definitely not a good time that the client's gonna come back or the model's gonna come back to you because
And I
it's
get it.
miserable.
Yeah.
I
I
want
get it too, because I mean, like a lot of people that are just starting out, for example, like they don't have the confidence
yeah,
to maybe, like, they're thinking of other things, like they're like all up in their brain and thinking like, oh my god, what are my settings, oh my god, did I get this picture right, did I, and the more time that they spend in their own head, the less time that they're interacting with the people in front around them, and that shows, right?
yeah,
mhm,
So that comes with experience, and the more comfortable you are, like now, for example, like I said before, like this is like, it's like going to the gym. The more often you do it, the more, like it just
right,
becomes
right,
like second nature, right? So
yeah,
for me, a lot of this is like second nature. So that leaves me more time, less time to stress about, am I getting the picture right,
yeah.
and more time to just enjoy like hanging out with the people, and
mm,
like
mm,
and that's it.
I think that's one thing that I learned when I started actually shooting clients is breaking that awkwardness as fast as possible.
Yeah.
yeah,
You gotta break that. You gotta break it as fast as possible because then
mm,
Yeah.
that's when it becomes enjoyable. That's when they loosen up and you get those good shots, and you have fun with it and they're having fun, and now they're
mm,
Yeah.
confident. So that's definitely a key thing, and that's what my goal is every time I have a shoot is break the weird nervousness and confusion, especially if, when people have never had their photos taken professionally.
Yeah.
That's when it's like the hardest because now they're really scared, they're really shy, they don't think they can do it, and you just got to make them believe it right away. Um,
Yeah.
and then that's
And
another.
even and maybe like your pictures don't even turn out that amazing. If that happens, they can at least fall back on like, well, I had a good time with
Yeah, the experiences.
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
For
Like
sure.
at least they can fall back on that bit. But if your pictures suck and they had a bad time, man, oh,
You
that's
are
when you get
done
like the
for.
crowd, you know, like you're in trouble.
Yeah,
You know,
You are
yeah.
done
like
for.
yeah.
That is very true. So I'm gonna pull your Instagram up here for the viewers watching, and I'll share the screen. Some people call you a master of light. Some people call you a crazy creative. By me, it's I definitely do, because your pictures are insane. Um,
Thank you, thank
To
you.
understand it,
so
yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
like your
pull it up
lighting's
for all
amazing.
those watching. I'm share it to you. That way we're all no confuse. Oh, I lost it. Where'd it go?
Dude, your
Share.
lighting is insane.
Yeah. Speaking why I'm getting my life together here. Uh, how like where did you learn lighting? Is it something you YouTube? Is it something you just practice? Like how did you go about um just learning lighting?
Um, like I think I said it in my most recent post. Like for me, it's like developing an aesthetic,
Mhm.
if that kind of makes sense. You know, like it's for me, it's like kind of like piece by piece, you know, like little by little, kind of developing a style that's yours, an aesthetic that's yours. So, like for me, whether I'm doing street photography or whether I'm doing like portrait work or whatever, like I think hopefully like I'm getting to a point where like people can look at that photo and doesn't matter what type of photo it is, they can say, oh, that's Deniz's style, like that's like Deniz's aesthetic, and that's kind of like my goal. That's like kind of like where I'm going with all of that.
Right, right.
So with the lighting I learned mostly like actually like first of all you learn it like on the street, because what is photography at the end of the day? Photography is just it's light, right? It's a
Mm,
difference between light and dark. It's the difference between the highlights and the shadows.
Mm.
That's what photography is at the root of, at its most simplest kind of form, right?
Yeah.
It's just the difference between the darks and the shadows and the light, right? And so you're when you're out on the street, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for those contrasts.
Mhm.
Like and then the more that eye develops like when you're on the street, and then you can bring that into your everyday, like portrait shoots or whatever, and you start to recreate those lighting patterns and scenes that you see maybe out in the wild, let's say,
Yeah.
and you start to recreate those things with the lighting that you have, you know, and yeah,
I think that's. Can you guys see my screen first off? Are you guys able to?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh wait.
I just see you.
Oh, you don't see it.
Oh, you have to click on the
Oh,
watch
watch
stream.
stream.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, okay.
Um, I think that's definitely something I want to get into. I think it's kind of a little bit on the harder side. When it comes to photography, is getting that studio lighting, but it's
Mm,
definitely something I'm interested in because I think that's obviously what makes a photo. Like you said, that's what photography is lighting at the end of the day.
Lighting.
right.
And that definitely makes or breaks your photo. And that's you can tell from different photographers who knows lighting and who is learning lighting. Um,
Mm.
like this is insane.
Yeah.
This is insane. Where where do you come up with ideas?
Yeah.
Like
How do you
what's
attack? Yeah, yeah. You
what's your
attack.
inspiration in something like this?
I
Yeah.
mean, inspiration can come from anywhere, but I mean, like for example, like this kind of stuff is like, it's very cyberpunk.
Mm,
I grew up watching a lot of anime. I grew up loving like sci-fi movies, like Blade Runners. Like, the
mm,
original is still one of my favorite movies of all time. I've watched it countless times. But like, growing up watching like, Ghost in the Shell, Akira, like all that kind of
mm,
stuff too. That was kind of like my first sort of like love of Japanese culture, like way,
mm.
way back when.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like this is just kind of stuff that you kind of see through and building that sort of cyberpunk aesthetic, like for example for this shot. It's just something that you see over so much different times in different animes and different movies that you kind of build that sort of image and set in your brain, and then I just want to recreate it. Like
Right.
whatever's in my brain, like I say, like okay, like this is kind of like what I see, and obviously you want to do it with stuff that you have at home too, like for example, like the face mask goggle that she has on is like an eye massager mask.
I was just about to ask. Yeah, I was like, I
You know,
one of those
like
nostalgia
I
things.
saw it on Temu. I was
Yeah.
like, man, that looks so cool. Like it looks like super like cyber, and it was like I don't know, like I think it was like 1,000 yen or something like that.
Nice.
And it literally just is like a face mask, like that just like massages your eyes, that's all it does. But I've used like the Oculus as well before, like for different shoots as well. So I've used the Oculus, like that
Uh,
also kind of gives like that cool aesthetic.
damn, I
So
have
yeah,
one too.
yeah.
I think
So then, so that's the shot. When you start to like
what?
edit, yeah,
This
what?
this shot actually was super inspired by one of my favorite photographers, Moody Darkroom. So he
Mm,
did a very similar shot to this. I just kind of expanded on what he had done because I was doing a workshop for this. I was doing a lighting workshop for this one. So I was like, I wanted the people that were coming to the workshop to kind of recreate something similar to that photographer's work. And
mm,
then but then we kind of like took it like in a little bit of a different way as well, in terms of like the styling and the editing and all
that's
that kind of stuff as well.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm about to
It's
go to Tokyo and join a workshop. Like this is
Yeah.
facts,
insane.
yeah, facts.
This is
Yeah.
What is, it's a
insane.
projector, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my, like
Like, yeah.
Damn. Yeah. Oh my god.
beans.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
this was actually in the same workshop that we did.
Really.
The same model as well.
So, like a lot of the, because I've gone through a lot of your pictures, it's like even down to the filter you're using,
Mm.
like the filter choices, like you can tell that, like, I don't know, man. Like I had so many questions about that. Okay, so back to editing.
Okay.
Like, how much editing are you actually doing, or is it like a lot of this just straight from camera? It's like light touches or some shit like that, or just a filter.
I'm not like I think that there are photographers that are really good at like tweaking and reimagining things uh, in post production.
Mm,
I call them more, I would say, visual artists or like creative artists, like in that
mm,
sense, than a photographer. I
mm,
mean, they're still photographers, of course, but they're really really good at like taking that sort of image and then completely like manipulating it and making it look like
mm,
something completely like art, like
mm,
fine
mm,
art, you know.
mm,
Um, I'm more kind of the other way where I want to try and recreate as much as I can in camera.
mm,
And I still edit, of course. Like I still go into Lightroom, I still like tweak all the colors, I still do a lot of like, different sort of like editing techniques and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to rely too much on post production to get
mm.
my photos right, if that
Right,
makes sense.
right, right. It
So I
does.
try to do as much in camera
Mm,
and then kind of fine tune it in post production.
I think that's
You
the
know,
best
mm.
way though, because you know
yeah,
what you're shooting. You know,
You know what you're, yeah.
yeah,
it's given. It's right there in front of you. Not let me take the photo and try to mess with it later on. It's this is what it
yeah,
is. This I can know I can tweak it just a little bit later, but what I mostly need and want is right here in front of me. Um,
right,
which definitely I think it makes a difference too. Um, when it's real like that and in front of your face rather than doing it post production.
definitely, definitely.
Um, yeah, the colors.
It's
I
other
can't.
yeah.
And the thing is, it's like I love your creativity, and I think I talked to you about this one. I'm waiting for this right here. Uh,
Mm,
this is
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so
yeah.
said you just get inspired by things you see and things you know.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's like I don't know, man. It's like, you know, I think like different sort of movie aesthetics and all that kind of stuff. To be honest, I try my best to stay off of Instagram as much as possible.
Mm,
You know, I'm I of course I want to support like my friends and all that kind of stuff, and like like as much as I can, like comment and like and this and that and show
Mm.
support. But I'll be honest, I'm almost like never on Instagram.
yeah.
I don't scroll through Instagram. I don't
Mm.
care to like look at other people's work so much. Why? Not because I don't respect other people's work. I think there's like millions of like amazing photographers out there, and like most of them I think are even better than me.
Mm-hmm.
Like honestly, I think there's so many talented people out there. I just don't want to be in that sort of like creative like loop, where everybody's just recreating each other's ideas and photos and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
As much as I can avoid that, I don't think you can avoid that in this day and age anymore.
It's everywhere.
It's
Mm.
everywhere. We get inspired by the same things a lot. As if you'll go to Pinterest, you'll go to Instagram. Like these are all places where people just start to recycle a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I want to try to kind of get away from that as much as possible, and
Mm.
try to bring something fresh, like fresh eyes, fresh inspiration as much as possible, and yeah, not just kind of recycling, recreating like a lot of the things that you see. So that's why I try to stay off of like these platforms as much as I can. You know,
Mm.
How do you feel that you are able to stay creative and not burn out?
Ooh.
to be honest, like I'm gonna tell you guys, I don't even think I'm that creative. You know, like I don't like honestly, like
Someone's
I think
being
it's like one
humble.
of
Yeah,
no,
what
I
is
think it's
this?
like one of the things that like I struggle with a lot. Like I think it's something I struggle with a lot. Like in terms of like, you know, when I see some other people's photography, I'm like, damn, like that takes me to a whole other place.
Mm,
It's so artistic, it's so beautiful, it's so moving, and it's like in a way, like it's like, does this work evoke some sort of emotion in me?
mm,
Like that for me is like the like, you can be as creative as you want, but like for me, like that's like the true test of like of a photo, like of a photograph. And if it's just like, for me, if it's just something pretty to look at,
mm,
I feel like I haven't really done my job. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
mm,
Like I feel like I haven't really gotten to where I want to go. Because when I can look at other people's photos, and I stop and I look at them, and I'm just like, there's emotion in this.
mm,
You know, it's not just, sometimes not even pretty, maybe. You
Mm.
know, but it's like it makes you feel something. That's when I think you're kind of hitting like kind of this peak creativity in a sense. You know, making really kind of pretty things to look at. It's cool. It's not my end game though, you know?
Mm.
And so sometimes I think I struggle with that with my photography, like in terms of like, am I just making like, pretty things,
yeah.
or am I making things that like kind of bring more to the table,
Right.
you
Invoke
know?
some kind of emotion.
You definitely
Yeah.
are. I'll
Mm.
tell you that.
Yeah.
You definitely are.
Yeah, you definitely are.
Well,
Yeah.
I
You
appreciate I
definitely
appreciate
are.
the words, guys. I appreciate the words. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the follow. Uh, speechless.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
it makes me almost want to stay off Instagram now. It makes me
You
almost
know?
Be
just
shooting more. Yeah.
it's
Get the
Yeah.
camera in your hands. Go shoot more.
I'm just yeah. I'm gonna stop
Yeah.
scrolling reels and just sit there and practice light for hours and and
That's
really
what
just
it's about,
observe.
man. That's what it's about. It is. It's a lot of practice. It's a lot of yeah,
Yeah.
a
Do you
lot of
have any
hours.
like techniques that you use that you tend to like that you really like yourself?
Techniques, uh, like, I mean, you probably see from like my photos, I shoot a lot of like slow, like shutter drag.
Yeah, shutter drags. Yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that would be like a technique that I definitely love shooting. I like to kind of create a little bit more of that sort of like painterly kind of
Mm,
light painting, you know, kind
mm,
of
mm,
Mm-hmm.
photos.
mm.
Um, like a
Yeah,
photo
that's
doesn't always have to be
crazy.
super sharp, like
Yeah,
this, you know, like for
yeah.
example, you know, like photo doesn't always have to be super sharp, you know, like to be a good photo, right? Like it could
Right,
be like again, like I go back to that, like what is it bringing some sort of emotion, you know,
right,
and
right,
emotion is not like pixel by pixel super sharp, you know. You
right,
know, like
right,
that's not emotion, you know, that's a computer, you
right.
know, like that's, you know, that's I think the opposite of emotion almost, you know. But I'm not saying that a sharp photo can't bring emotion, but it's just like for me it's like the two don't necessarily like one for one equate, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so um
Yeah, you're
yeah,
taking this
like
one shot. Hold on. Cruz, can you go to the one where it's like the girl wearing, she has like an eye patch on. And it's like
Yeah.
the way that you bent it. I think it's
so I think it's
down.
if you go down.
Down.
Yeah. It's like how? Like it almost looks like you like zoomed in on her. Yeah, right there. Yeah.
This
It's
is
the
done with like I was using a speed filter I think for these ones.
a speed. I've never even heard of that before. A speed filter.
Yeah. It's like a filter that like has like an opening. Actually, I think it's maybe like kind of clear in the middle, and then on the
Mm-hmm.
sides it kind of like has this gradation, kind of like where it kind of blurs and stretches
Mm-hmm.
out the sides, so it kind of looks like they're kind of being like pulled apart, like almost, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, I
and
gotta
that
get
was
my
with
filter.
I think that was shot with like a wide, like 16 mil lens as well. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's what it says there, 16, 1.8,
Mm.
and a Sigma
mm,
85. 85. I need
That was in the like some other shots in that set. That was
uh
in that set as well.
jeez.
yeah, that's crazy though. But I love that look.
Yeah, those are like on the 85.
Sick.
Yeah, insane.
um, I can't. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's like
Do you find yourself using like ND filters or anything along those lines when you shoot these?
Yeah, I mean, not when I'm shooting like ND filter is mostly like if I'm going to be reducing the light that's coming to my lens.
Or
So I'll use an ND filter when I'm shooting in the daytime a lot.
yeah.
mm,
Um, yeah, that's primarily what I would use an ND filter for.
mm,
Um, or yeah. I mean, date. It's mostly like in the daytime, like that.
And
I'm going
then
to be using a
for
filter.
nights, do you use what is it called? The one that like the
I
stars.
use a Black Mist Pro. Like so, I
Okay.
use a Black Mist quite often. So I have a Black Mist. Usually, I would say a 1/4, 1/8. You
mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
as well. Yeah. So that kind of gives me a little bit of that aesthetic. You know, and that I
Yeah.
think that's applied to a lot of my photos as well. So.
I
Gotcha.
love that black mist look.
I think I have to get one.
I love mine. Yeah.
Man. Where are these photos that I was looking for?
Mm-mm.
Did you
Oh,
get?
that, say what?
I was gonna ask about the photos. The photos.
The photos?
The photos. Um,
Which ones?
I call them the risque photos that you have posted on. I was just me and Fox were talking and we were curious on. Oh,
Oh,
welcome to Portugal.
on my you talking about on my other account?
That's what it's on the other account.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-mm-mm.
yeah.
Does that
I
make
don't post those. I don't post those on the main account.
okay?
Yeah.
Um, what is? I know I've seen. What's the?
It's Deniz dot people.
There we go.
Yeah.
I know I've seen them somewhere, and I was looking for them there. The
Yeah.
photos.
Yeah.
The photos. Me and Fox had definitely had some questions on the
Yeah.
photos.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Um,
How do
just
you even approach?
yeah, yeah. Let's start there.
Yeah,
How do you?
yeah. How do you
Uh,
even approach like getting like asking a model to do something like a shoot like that?
Um, I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of my photos started off with portrait shoots
Hmm.
with some of the models, and
hmm,
then um, and then they just ended up kind of going into that direction. For me, everything is like it's again about lighting.
Uh,
mm.
You know what I mean? Like I don't really. I mean, yes, okay. Like there's a lot of like beautiful, sexy girls on here, and you know,
Yeah,
like that.
too sexy. I'm gonna switch it back to the other one so I don't have to
Yeah,
get into much on YouTube. But
yeah,
for
yeah.
those
You know,
watching, these
but
are the photos we're talking about.
let's go back to the safe zone.
Yeah, let's go to the safe
Yeah.
zone.
But again, like for me, it's not like really so much like the, like sexy photos. It's more for me like lighting. Like
mm,
I'm practicing lighting in totally different scenarios and I'm creating like that aesthetic that I'm able to bring from my street photography, from my studio photography into a whole other setting. So I'm able to practice, like, for example, instead of being in a studio, now I can take my lighting setup and go to a hotel room and I can transform that hotel room into a scene, like kind of like almost from a movie.
mm,
Like I can kind of create my own lighting in a completely foreign environment. And that's a whole other way of practicing for me as well.
mhm,
So and then obviously, yes, okay, like we can have like some, beautiful, sexy woman there as well, and that brings a whole other sort of aesthetic into the photos as well.
right.
So yeah, I mean, for me, it's like it's not as important to be like, like I gotta shoot like, this type of subject,
Hmm.
as it is like for me, like practicing my lighting and developing the lighting and techniques and working on those techniques.
Do you enjoy like taking yourself in an unknown place more just for the challenge, or is it just
Yeah, I think
yeah?
it's a lot of fun. Yeah, like I mean I get like I'll be honest. I mean I get a lot of like boudoir client shoots now too. Like from
Mhm,
I'll get like couples as
mhm,
well. Like different requests and like they'll just be like we need you to come to this hotel and set up like this kind of aesthetic that you've developed. And it's like almost like kind of like I said, it's like me going in and creating a movie scene.
mhm,
Like that's that for me is like part of like the joy and kind of fun,
Yeah,
like of all of this is like, it's just like because like I said before to you guys, if I'm doing the 9 to 5 things, I'm bored,
yeah.
but if I'm doing these types of things where I'm challenged every day, like to like
Hmm.
kind of go and do something that's like really outside of my comfort zone or my expertise, let's say,
Yeah.
you know and then I'm having a lot of fun,
mhm.
and on top of that, if I'm getting paid on top of
Oh,
all of
even
that
more
stuff,
fun. Even more fun.
Right.
then I'm living the
Exactly.
dream,
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know.
I think that's what it's all
So,
about.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
Having fun and loving what you're doing.
yeah,
You're not even working at that point. You're just going to have fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
like for me,
right.
yeah, like that's kind of what it is, at that
Right.
time,
Right. Right. Right.
Mm.
So, what's the, or can you share a like a particular moment, like what like during or if there is any during like a photo shoot where you just it was like the most memorable thing was like you were like either you were impressed by either the model or yourself, or you just like had like that moment where you're just like, wow, I'm really doing it, kind of moment.
that's a good question. I mean, like I think like probably. Um, yeah, probably the first times that I started doing like paid client work,
Mm,
like that was probably like when I started to realize that like okay, like like I'm not just doing this as a hobby anymore.
mm,
Mm.
Like this isn't a hobby. Like now it's like, people are counting on me and
mm,
they're paying me. I have to respect these people and their money and their time.
mm,
Like that was probably like, the moments where I was kind of like, okay, like now you got to take this like a lot more serious,
Yeah.
like when you start to realize that like, that's you know it's a serious thing, like people
mm,
are they can go anywhere else.
But they chose
There's
you.
like
Yeah.
a
mm,
thousand photographers in Tokyo, in Osaka, in Japan in general,
right.
and they have so many different options, but they chose you, and
Mm,
they're going for something they believe that you can deliver,
Yeah.
you know
mm.
so I think that's probably when I started to have that sort of like, like I got to start really kind of taking this seriously and like really, develop my skills,
Mm.
so I can feel comfortable to deliver, on what the clients want.
I think
Hell yeah.
that's like the most, almost the most amazing feeling that first time you get paid.
Right.
It's like
Yeah,
all
yeah,
my
it is.
hard work, all my
It
Yeah,
is.
effort
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is it's doing something. People are noticing. Like,
right.
I can really. It's almost a proof to yourself that the good and the bad days that you've had building this, it's paying off.
Yeah. It
Um,
was all for
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
It's all
all
exactly.
for something. Right,
I
right.
know personally that's definitely mine too. Is that when that money hit my account, I was like, wow. Especially I'm not the greatest photographer. I'm nowhere close to you guys. I've been doing this 6 months now. You know, and just having that
bravo,
first,
man. 6 months here. It's amazing.
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But just that initial first payment was like, wow, I can do something with this. I enjoy it. I can make money from it.
100%. Yeah.
Um, and it was
Yeah,
just
and I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, no matter what, like, you know, we're all developing this skill, right? We're all developing, and that's at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like you, no matter what happens, all the time and effort that you put into this, right? Like nobody can take that away from you.
Mm,
So this is a life skill that you're going to have for the rest of your life, that you can travel and go anywhere in the world, live anywhere in the world, and you can build a business.
mm,
yeah.
How crazy is that?
It's
How
mm.
amazing is that? Like this is like a skill that you have developed, that all you need is a camera.
yeah.
You know, you
Right.
just need a camera, your computer to edit, and you can start building a business anywhere. I can move to Thailand tomorrow and
Mm,
build a photography business.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
It's proof
I,
to yourself that you
you know,
can do it.
like, but that's what I'm saying. It's like it's not like a job that somebody can take away from you.
Yeah.
Mm,
At the end of the
mm,
day, like you can always fall back on this as something if you need to make money, if like whatever it is,
Hmm.
like as just as a skill, you know.
Yeah. Skill, passion. Um, I want to flip Fox's question. What was the most awkward moment you would say you had while shooting?
Awkward.
Where you're like, what the hell is going on right now?
Well,
He's
I
like,
mean,
wait,
I have
what
a lot
is
of like those types of situations with clients.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times, like I just had like two of them like in the past week, like where I was like, what is going on? And like,
Yeah.
yeah, I've had some really funny situations where it's like you question your life decisions, like in terms of like what brought you to this point in time, in this in this moment in time,
Yeah.
like to be here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, sometimes clients can be really, I mean, they can be really funny. Yeah, they can be really like especially like when you work with a lot of like tourists, you know, like
Mm.
'cause I do work with a lot of people that are coming into to Japan. They want to get their portraits taken, couple photos, this and that, or influencers, you know, like stuff like that.
Mhm.
And some of them have zero inhibitions, you know, and I'm talking about like literally they're like in the skimpiest of skimpiest. You know, I shot like an OnlyFans girl, like you know, just the other day,
Mhm.
and out on the streets, like you know, she hired me to
Damn.
do like a gig with her, whatever, blah blah blah. But she was like changing in the middle of the streets, like you know, just full on.
What?
Like people were just sitting and watching, and like Japanese guy, like one Japanese guy actually came up to me and said like in Japanese, he's like, "Hey, do you want? I have a changing room she can use like down the street, you know, like right
Wow.
down the street, you know, like I have a place where she can go change, you know, because like that was like how out in the open she was, and I was trying to be like, you know, you should just maybe kind of go up into this like kind of stairwell or you know
Yeah.
like this alley or something like that, just zero inhibitions, and I was like so kind of almost mortified to be there, you know, like.
Cause you're just sitting
Dude,
there
we're gonna
with your
get the cab
camera, like,
crunk.
Like I was like,
Right.
oh man, like I don't want to be like associated with this right now, right
Right.
here, you know,
Like
like in
someone's
the
gonna
middle of
call the cops.
Shinjuku where I'm like always shooting, you know,
yeah.
like
They'll be like,
you
oh,
Right.
know,
there's the guy with the naked
yeah,
girl in the
yeah,
street.
Yeah.
Here he
you
is
know,
again.
yeah, yeah. There's that creeper, you
That's
Yeah.
know.
funny. That is too funny.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-mm. So then, still talking business, what do you recommend for people, like if they're trying to grow? Like if to say that they did just come out and to Japan and started and wanted to do something in photography or start doing shoots and stuff like that. How would you recommend they start?
Um, like I'm gonna say it straight up. You can't wait for things to happen. You got to make them happen. Okay, so what do I mean by that? When I moved to Japan, I like I think the easiest thing for most people to do is just to kind of sit back and be like, oh, you know, I put up a website and you know, I made some Instagram posts and like, you know, things are gonna come my
Right.
way, you know?
Right, right.
Like, no, it's not gonna happen because there's just so many people out there and especially in places like Tokyo where people are like hustling, you know,
Yeah.
like they're
Mm,
literally hustling. So like for me, for example, when I first moved here, I didn't have any friends. You know, I didn't know that many people here. I was just kind of getting into photography still, like, you know, kind of like on a more like daily basis kind of thing, you know.
Mhm.
And it was during COVID on top of all of that, you know. So like there was like not a chance to really kind of meet anyone like at all,
mhm,
right?
mm,
So I was like, okay, well, either I could sit home and cry about it, or I can go and do something about it. And so what did I do? I set up I started a meetup group, and I started. That's when I started Takumi, which is my company.
mm,
So I started the group called Takumi, and it was just a meetup group that we met every week in a different you know station in Tokyo, and it would just be like a meetup for other photographers and models and people who wanted to model, right? So
mm,
first started off with like you know I think the first we had at Shibuya, that was like almost over 3 years ago now, and we had like I think like 8 people show up, you know, which
mm,
was not bad for
mm,
during COVID, you
Mhm.
know. And my first sort of like idea for that meetup group was that we were going to start in Shibuya, and then we were going to do each stop on the JR line all the way around the loop, which was I think
mm,
32 stations.
Oh,
So
damn.
it took
mm.
yeah, so it took us, you know, it took us like about 32 weeks like to finish. Like we
God
did
damn.
every
Mm.
stop, you know, like
That's cool though.
one after the one.
That's cool as
And
hell.
by
Yeah.
the end of that group, like, you know, I had built like I mean now I think that there's like 1,800 members in the meetup group, and
Woo!
there's like I think at one point we had like 350 people in the line group, you
Woo!
know, like
Wow.
so like I basically built my own network and built my own community,
Wow.
you know, of
Mm,
other photographers and other models, you know. And so from there, other opportunities, you know, like kind of
Mm.
start to come your way, right? Because people start to know you as like, okay, like that's a guy that's like, you know, kind of creating this or doing that or
mm,
hosting these
mm.
events, and
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, you want to do this, you go to that guy,
Yeah.
Right,
like that
right,
sort of
right,
thing.
Yeah.
So like what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, I wasn't waiting for other people to do something. I went out and did it myself. Like
right,
I
right.
started like and maybe that's part of my character as well. Like that's just
I think
how I am. But
yeah, that also comes from like the business perspective though at the end of the day. Like if you're not actively showing your face everywhere, it's no one's gonna know. No one's gonna know what you got going on. Like you
yeah,
said
Right.
yourself,
like
like you can put up a website, but that website has nothing. It's just a website. But when you go
Right.
out there and you do things like this is where that
it
you put a
carries
face
itself.
to it.
Like
Yeah, you put a
Mm,
yeah, it starts to build in a different, like for example, I went to a networking event maybe 2 weeks ago, and I showed up. I didn't know anyone actually at the event, which was really rare. I thought I was going to meet, see some other people there,
hmm
but I showed up and I went to go get a drink at the bar, and the bartender looks at me and says, "Oh, you're the guy."
You're the
I was like,
guy.
"Yeah."
That's
I was like,
sick.
"What?" Well, he's like, "Yeah, you're the guy. Like from the other meetup group. Like the
uh,
photographer model group, and it was a photography meetup that I'd gone to.
uh,
I was like, yeah, yeah, that's me. I was like, cool. You know me? He's like, yeah, of course. Like you're the guy that's always like doing like the meetup groups and this and that. I was like, oh, cool. Nice to meet you. This and that, and yeah. So I was like, well, okay, that's cool. Like, like
hell
you
yeah.
said, like you just kind of throw yourself out there, and then eventually, like people will notice. You
Mm,
know?
mm, mm. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Um,
That's actually what we're trying to do right now.
Yeah.
what we're doing right
Yeah,
now.
that's
Yeah.
that's what we're
Yeah,
doing right
cool,
now.
cool. No,
Is
I like that. Yeah,
we
I
started
definitely
the
respect.
Osaka photo walks, and then I'm
Mm,
actually doing a dry run here in Iwakuni, uh, Saturday to see if people will even show up, and
mm.
then try another one again before Osaka. Uh,
Was weekly like you did it weekly though,
it's a
man?
lot.
That
Man,
has to
I
be.
hey,
Has to
no,
be a
no,
lot.
guys. I was doing it at one point for 1 year, twice a week.
What?
Whoa,
No,
man.
I was doing
Insane.
because we were doing it every or every Thursday night. So like
Mm,
the night thing was kind of like what the group became known for.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And we had groups, like I'm telling you, like at one point we were doing, like I would say, like on average probably about 20 people, and then like up to, I had, like, I think for Halloween specials we had maybe up to 50 people.
Wow,
Like
that's a lot of people.
like
That's a
there was a
That's
lot.
a
lot,
lot.
and it's a lot of managing, like like taking
We
care of
need.
like all the people and this and that. But yeah, then I started to do it like every Saturday daytime, because people wanted to do a daytime walk as well.
Mm.
you
Mm,
know so I was like, yeah, I was doing a lot of walks at one point, like a lot,
That's
and that was
that's
a lot of
insane.
organizing. Yeah, and then on top of that, I was starting to do like photography events. Like we would rent out like bars, or rent out
Mm.
like Airbnbs, and
mm.
do like rooftop parties and that kind of stuff
That's
too.
What?
So yeah, and they were
crazy.
just like photography events, like a whole bunch of photographers getting drunk and like taking
Yeah.
photos of each
Yeah.
other and bringing their lighting setups and this and
Yeah.
that.
What?
Dennis,
Yeah.
we're definitely gonna have to talk after the pod.
Actually,
We're
I do
definitely
because
gonna
I have
have to talk
something.
because I
I,
like your
we
vision.
only
What
did a
you
few of
did.
those.
It's not even a vision. You did do this,
Yeah.
and that's definitely where me and Fox are trying to take things, and
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that a
yeah.
lot.
They're
Did
tricky. They're
you?
tricky. They're not easy, I'm gonna say, because I
Yeah.
mean, like, I came out ahead on like a couple, and then I kind of lost a lot of money on one, and
Mm.
then like it's like, you gotta, yeah,
I was just about to ask that. Like, did you charge for these
yeah,
events?
yeah, of course. I mean, to me, like, look, I know a lot of people that do this whole photography thing as like kind of like a community service, whatever,
Mm,
and that's cool.
mm.
I'm not in that game. I'm not, because
Dennis,
like,
Dennis is
So
our
fact,
guy.
that's
Dennis
fact.
no,
is our guy, and
I'm not
we've
in
been
that
talking
game.
about
Why?
that too.
Because like I don't go to other people's businesses and ask for free things. You know,
Facts.
I don't go into
Oh,
like a hair salon and ask for a free haircut. I don't go to someone's
facts.
English teaching class and ask for free English
For
lessons.
free English
You know,
lessons. Yeah,
like I
facts.
don't do any of that stuff, you know, because I built up a skill and I built up like, you know, like I put my blood, sweat, tears, money,
Time.
energy,
Mm, mm,
resources into
mm.
building this thing up.
Mm.
I don't, why should I give it away for free? Why would people
Yeah.
have that
Or even
expectation
come
because
out
it's
of pocket
photography? You
for it.
know,
Yeah, or
like, yeah,
yeah, why come out of pocket? Yeah.
because it's photography, I think that's so disrespectful to the art of photography. You know,
Mm,
if you come at it with that sort of like thing where you think it should be free or you think it
mhm.
should be something that we give to other people, you know, like I think that's disrespectful, you know, like
Mm,
in my eyes. I think it has a lot of worth and it has a lot of value. And I want to be around the people that can respect what it's worth, you
Yeah.
know, and what you know the value that's behind it. I'm not trying to rip people off. I'm not
Mm-mm.
trying to like scam people out of money. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to provide people with like a high amount of value,
mm.
you know, and there's a price for that, you
Yeah.
know, and I think that's
Facts.
if people are willing to pay that, that's you know that's the way it's got to be. So
Yeah.
um, so
Definitely
yeah,
Absolutely.
from the just the start of even thinking about an event, there's just so much you got to put into it, so much time, so much effort.
Right.
And then, these events, especially at a level that you had them, I can only imagine how much it even costs to rent out a space to hold that many people.
course.
Mm,
It's
Um,
cost, it's risk, it's
yeah,
time, it's energy. You know, like it's
yeah,
yeah,
and it's not fair to the person hosting that they should
not at
come out
all,
of pocket
yeah,
for it.
exactly.
not at all.
You're creating a community that builds, like you said, value from one photos to networking, because now you're introducing different people with different skills,
Yeah,
different talents, different network themselves, and it's just value
yeah.
all around.
A lot of those people would never have made any of those connections if they didn't come to the groups and the networks and networking
Big
events that
facts.
I had. You know, I put out there.
Yeah,
You
Right.
know, and that's just facts. Just the way it
Yeah.
is. You know, like
Yeah.
it's so there's definitely value behind that. You
yeah,
know, so
most definitely. I like that a
Oh yeah.
lot. I like that a lot because that's
It's
me and
disrespectful.
him been
Yeah.
thinking about the same thing, and we've been talking about it every week on how we want to go about it. Because the thing is here is we're not looking to overcharge. We're not even trying to
no,
necessarily make money on it, but to break even, where because we
Even.
did the
guys.
Yeah.
event last time. Um,
Yeah, there's nothing evil about making money. Okay,
there isn't.
I'm gonna put it that way. People might try to like make you feel bad, or they might try to like make you feel some sort of like negative emotion towards it. I'm sorry, but that's I have no time for that kind of stuff. You know, like there's nothing wrong with making money.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, at the end of the day, you're not ripping people off.
Mm.
You're not overcharging, or you're not giving people something that they don't want,
Right.
Yeah.
like they want that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and if they're willing to pay for it and to make it worth your time, and your investment, your risk, your energy, all that kind of stuff,
Mm,
then there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. And so don't put it in your head that like it's like making money is like a negative thing or making money is a bad thing. You know, it's not like I said, we're not evil. That's not an evil trait
Yeah.
at all. Making
mm,
money is totally fine because we all got to live. We all got to,
yeah.
put food on the table, and some got to support families, some got to,
Mm.
like do other things. So yeah,
When you first attached money to these kind of events, were you worried about losing people?
I
Mm.
mean, like for example, when I did the first events, I was charging 500 yen per person. 500 yen. Think about this for a second. 500 yen. What can you buy for 500 yen? You
A
can't
snack.
even buy, like, you can't even buy, you can barely buy a bowl of soba, never mind
Yeah.
ramen, you
Yeah.
know? So then I started maybe a year went by, and I started building up like a pretty, sizable group, and it was getting pretty popular. And then I upped the price to 1,000 yen because I was like, okay, you know what? Like for 500 yen, it's really like they're getting like a lot of value. And for 1,000 yen, think about it. A lot of models were coming. getting their photos taken by a bunch of photographers and getting free photos,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
edited photos.
Right.
Some of
That
them were for me, you
Yeah.
know.
that costs
that
hundreds of dollars if you were doing a
like
client shoot.
if I was doing a client shoot, like this would
Right.
be hundreds of dollars, you
Yeah.
know.
Right. Right.
So for the model, they were getting great opportunity. For the photographers, a lot of these photographers um, don't have the chance to take photos of other people because they don't have the skills, like they don't have the networking. They don't. They're just starting out. You know, they don't have the connections, and they just want to practice,
Yep.
right?
Mm.
So this was a great opportunity to have somebody else set everything up for them, location, model, all that kind of stuff for 1,000 yen. You
Yeah.
can't even buy a bowl of ramen for 1,000 yen anymore.
And
Yeah.
You
I'm
No.
know, like
assuming like some of these models were professionals as well.
no, some of them
Yeah.
were, yeah, like
So
friends of mine, like,
yeah.
and some of them were. It's not even if they were professional or not. I mean, like, it's like the fact that like they're coming and other photographers that are able to practice and
Yeah.
and do it with like no risk or no. They don't need to be nervous about it at all. Like, there's nothing on them,
Yeah.
you know.
It's practice,
So
it's network, it's really a workshop at
yeah,
the end of the day too because
it is,
you have all these other photographers assisting you when
and
you
you
are
join a
less flexible.
community.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
there's so much to it. So much
so
Yeah.
much
value
to it.
to it.
So 1,000 yen for me was like, amazing value. But when I went from 500 to 1,000, I got some pushback.
Mm,
You
Ah.
know, I got some pushback where like, well, why you're doubling the price and like, this and that because they were so used to it being 500 yen.
500.
They
Yeah.
didn't look at it from like, am I still getting a lot of value at 1,000 yen? They just looked at it from, well, he went from 500 to 1,000 yen. He didn't change anything really,
Mm.
so like for me it's like he's kind of like maybe he's overcharging us or
mm,
like that
Mm.
was the mindset that they have, but I was okay to lose those people if they couldn't see the value
Mm.
yeah.
that they were still getting at 1,000 yen,
Because at the
you
end of
know
Yeah.
the day, there's someone that's gonna take that opportunity.
of course,
Yeah.
and that's just what
Someone
happened,
see the
like other people were still coming and they were super happy to pay 1,000 yen,
yeah.
Yeah.
you know like
That's
so
very true.
You
Um,
can't beat that knowledge,
yeah.
and the amount of knowledge you get out of like a workshop like that or something like that. It's over. It's worth over 1,000. Much. Yeah.
let me
People.
ask you this: when you did do these events, did you also provide like catering and everything for people, or it was just
Oh no,
drum
no,
set?
no. I mean,
Okay.
like it for me, it was like for a
Mm.
thousand yen, you're coming. I'm not like I tried to also differentiate between like for example, I tell people like this isn't a workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Like I'm not teaching. Of course, if people have some questions, I'm gonna like I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna help them. Like with certain things, whatever, blah blah. Blah. But it wasn't like for me, it's not a teaching workshop.
Mm.
If you want to join a teaching workshop, those are different. Like I offer
Mm.
those mostly like one-on-one as well, and that's a different style because that's very like hands-on and education. This
Mm.
was more like network. You're coming and everything is set up for you in terms of like we scout the locations, we walk around, you just have to follow the group,
Yeah.
and take photos. That's it. That's
Yeah.
all you're doing.
Yeah.
You don't have, you can turn off your brain and like
Mm,
just kind of
just shoot.
do whatever the group is doing, for those 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. But a lot of the times, like after, like for the first year, I would say like we would go to an izakaya after the shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go like every week. It'd be like sometimes like a group of like 30 of us walking into an izakaya. Be like no reservations, no nothing. Be
Yeah.
like, do you have empty seats? Like
Yeah.
so that was also a stress that like I was taking on,
Mm.
at that point too. It wasn't part of the package, but it
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm.
something that I was still doing.
Yeah.
Right.
But then I
Right.
kind of got burnt out of that, and I was like, you know what, like I don't want to do that anymore, like because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't part of like the deal, and it's like, as much as I enjoy doing, like going out with everyone afterwards and stuff like that, I didn't want to do it like every week, as
Gotcha.
well. So
Yeah. That
Um,
gets a bit much. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you still do events like this? Are you interested in ever doing them again, or?
Yeah, I've been like kind of putting it on the back burner because when I was doing it like twice a week, I'll admit it, like that was like when I was just kind of like my business was still like kind of building,
Mm-hmm.
as well. But now like I'm so busy with work, like my client stuff, that it's hard for me to really kind of fit it in right now where I'm like, okay, like I can do this again. But I mean, I still want to do it. I'm just like trying to figure out when I'm going to kind of start it up again. So probably I think I'll do it like maybe less frequently, like maybe once every 2 weeks, like kind of starting maybe in the springtime.
Mm.
I think
Mm.
maybe I'll get over March, April, maybe May. Like start off in May.
With that being said, also, how do you find time to balance your personal life while doing all
Personal life, what's that?
this?
What are you talking about?
Business
I don't know. I don't know what that
24/7.
is.
I feel you.
Yeah,
I
I don't
feel
know what
you.
that is.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I feel you.
That's fair. Yeah. When you're a
Absolutely.
one man army, you got to.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have to.
You're a
Yeah.
one man army.
you're on 24/7, man. That's what you signed up for when you want to do this
Right.
like full time, you
Yeah,
know?
that's true. I was just curious.
Yeah.
I was just curious. Some people,
I mean,
have their saying.
I always like I mean, I lie. Like I have some special time with my special people and this and that, so
Mm.
Hmm.
like it's not always work, but yeah, if I would say for the most part that's kind of the mindset. I'm always on.
Yeah,
you know
no matter what. That's how
yeah,
you got to be though to be successful. Some people like, and that goes very back to where you're either in or you're out.
yeah,
Like you said earlier, is you got to be willing to do things that normal people won't. You got to lose
yeah,
sleep. You got to lose time with certain things. You got to give up
Yeah.
certain things. Um,
yeah,
Sometimes, yeah.
and that's just at the end of the day to get where you want to be. And
Mm.
I definitely like your mindset. And like I said, we definitely got to talk more after this because I'm very.
Yeah.
you guys are like here for a while, I guess. Yeah, in Japan.
He is
Yeah.
for sure. In June I have to leave for about 6 months, but I'll be back mid November ish.
Oh, okay.
So we're really just trying to build a bunch of stuff out and have it kind of set, and then just have Fox here just keep pushing while I'm gone, and me doing whatever I can from a distance.
Yeah, yeah.
Feel
Um,
you.
so it's stressful, but and it sucks because I wish I could be here 24/7. I really
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah.
You best believe whenever I'm in Tokyo, I'm hitting you up.
Yeah, man, no worries. Yeah,
Absolutely.
no worries.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to get because I
Welcome in,
definitely want
welcome
to come
in.
to one of these workshops.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I definitely yeah, we'll shout it out while we're on the topic. Is all your stuff's on your Instagram, yes?
Tell your tell your any of your followers as well
Yeah, let's
like
pull it
I
up.
offer like for one-on-one street photography workshops or studio workshops as well with model as well. I mean, they're a little bit more pricey. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but you get what you pay for as well. But
Of course.
yeah, they're definitely worth it. I think we go through a lot of different stuff. So yeah.
Photo and video
Photo,
packages.
video.
Yeah.
What don't you do, Dennis? What don't you do? That's super sick. All his work is on his website. If you're interested in doing a workshop, make sure you hit him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that that's crazy.
Flavo Sosa PT. Hello, just found you guys now following now. Thank you.
Also, hey guys, I think I might have said it recently, but we've got a big photo community on here. If you want to get connected with the Twitch photo community, of course, we would love to get connected with the Twitch photo community. Why not? Let's get
Who's
bigger. Let's
yeah,
get
who's
bigger.
that?
Maple Glades. Uh,
Sounds Canadian.
People. Yeah.
yeah, where are you from, Maple? You from Canada? Um, but yeah, I
Let me
think it's just super sick at the end of the day. Flavio says he is. You were right.
yeah.
Here's the photo family Discord. We got a ton of streamers. Bet. I would definitely join that and share it with the rest. Love to be a part of
Yeah,
it.
I'm
Well, yeah,
joining now actually.
Dennis has his community that he's built, and why not? I think the more the merrier. Uh, just to can't talk. Keep creating the community. Is super sick. I think for question wise, you've answered a lot of my questions. Fox, do you have
Yeah, that was all of mine. I did want to ask you, like, what do you, like, for example, for like learning wise on, like, like YouTube or whatever, who do you watch?
A good question. I love the work of Lindsay Adler. I think she's really good. Like for if you want to learn lighting, I think she's like one of the lighting kind of wizards, like masters. Like you can definitely learn a lot from her. So actually, I bought her two of her lighting guides as
Mm,
well. So definitely, like you should, if you got a little bit of extra kind of cash to put into that, they're not that expensive, but they're well worth it. A lot of info in those, and her YouTube videos also do like lighting breakdowns, like as well. And so she
Uh,
really kind of gets into it as well. So yeah, I think she's really good. There was, oh man, what was his name again? I'm totally forgetting, but he was actually we were talking about him in the good room chat. There was another YouTuber. I forget the name. I'll have to send it to you guys
hmm.
as well. But he also was really good at like kind of doing like really kind of more basic lighting. Like for example, he'll do like a breakdown on modifiers, and like what each modifier does, and he'll give like kind of real life examples of lighting scenarios using those modifiers to show you like the differences. You know,
Mm,
I think it was John Grease. I think
John
I think
Grease.
Grease. Let me just see if it was Greece, if I'm not mistaken. Mhm.
you pulling it up?
I'm looking for it now. I don't see John Grease.
No.
John Grease.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's him. Yeah, John Grease. Yeah.
I looked up John
On
Grease and I got the guy from I got the Grease
Grease.
movie.
Yeah, Grease the movie.
I got the Grease movie. Flavio says I learned basics with camera light with Zach Arias. Still go back to it sometimes. Or Arias, Zach Arias. We definitely got
Yeah.
some.
Zach.
I mean those. I mean I'm not gonna lie and say that they're like all like a lot of the people that I learn from are my favorite photographers.
Hmm.
Because sometimes like your favorite photographers are just that's what that's all they are. They're just really good at
Yeah,
photography. They're not
yeah.
they're not good at teaching. They're
Oh
not
yeah.
good at, like showing how they kind of go through stuff, like kind of doing lighting breakdowns and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So there's like a difference, like some people are just really good at teaching, but they're not like I'm not gonna say they're the most amazing photographers,
Yeah.
or they could be really good photographers, just maybe not 100% my style. But
Gotcha.
the basics are the basics, and the techniques are the same. They can be applied like to all different styles.
Do you ever try using like a fake mannequin to practice lighting?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, use the. Yeah,
Of
that's
course.
some advice we've gotten, and I might actually just send it because you can get them like super cheap, even the fake heads.
I
Yeah.
have the fake head.
Yeah,
I stopped at getting the whole body because I thought that like that was gonna start getting to a point where like people would come over and be I would always
Like,
have to answer a lot of
what do you
questions.
say? Yeah,
Like,
what you say?
you know, like I was like, oh, I'll just stick with the head for now, and you know,
yeah, and for those in Japan, you can get them super cheap. Even what we see it at Daisyo, right?
At the Daiso. It was at
Daiso.
the 100 yen store. Yeah, we
But
saw
it's
it.
definitely worth it because yeah, you need somebody like somebody in front of you while you're doing. I used to use my plant, you know,
Mm,
but yeah, obviously you can't
oh
see
yeah.
how the lighting falls on a face.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Gotcha. My bad. I'm
I
over
think I'm
here
gonna
trying to fix
open.
something.
I want to open up to the chat.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
What?
One last
What?
question.
All right.
Or one last. Do you have any advice for any new photographers, any new people, or even people that have been doing it but are not at a crazy level where they own a business or things like that?
Advice. I mean, I think we went through a lot of different stuff, um, but I mean, I don't know. I guess it goes back to like what we said at the beginning. It's like, are you a doer or are you a talker or are you a dreamer? You know, you got to figure out which one you are because there's only really one that kind of is going to get you to where you want to go, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
that's being a doer. You got to do it, you know.
Mm,
So I think the people that kind of get out there and do it on a daily basis are the ones that are going to get ahead. Um, there's a difference between watching, like, I'm not saying this, for example, like this is also a really good piece of advice, but and I don't say this because I run workshops myself. You can take workshops from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Um, but I would say that the fastest way that I up my game and the fastest way that I really kind of I learned photography was every time I'd go to a different city, I would hire a local photographer and they would kind of do like their own workshop with me. It could be like half a day or, a couple hours or even sometimes a full day, and I learned, not did I just learn like a lot more information in that short amount of time. I also retained a lot of information because why? Because I attached like a human element, human interaction that is really hard to forget.
Mm-hmm.
When you're watching like, your 100th YouTube video in the last 2-3 days, how many of those videos are you actually going to remember? There's nothing, there's
that's
no
a great one.
attachment to it.
Mm,
Like there's no memory to it.
Yeah.
There's
mm,
It's just another video that you're watching online and that you're scrolling and skipping through, and maybe you're listening to something else on the side, and maybe you're,
mm,
like you got other distractions, whatever. But when you're learning in a one-on-one workshop with another photographer, that's like you'll never forget those moments, right? Because
mm,
you're there, like you're in present with another person. You have these memories with those people, and they're sharing their knowledge and they're sharing their insider tips and locations as well in places that you probably will never find on your own,
Yeah.
you know. So I remember each session really, really well and what I learned from each photographer, and so I think those were like the quickest ways for me to really kind of up my game really quickly.
mm,
So I would recommend doing that sort of thing if you can, like if you go travel, go to a new city or whatever, or even if you're just in a city that you're in, and you want to kind of go and see a part of the city that maybe you've never been to,
Mm-hmm.
or you just don't know about, and see it through the eyes of a photographer, you
mm.
know. I would definitely look into a workshop. And if you want to do one of mine,
Yeah.
I'm
There you go. If you're in the Tokyo area, want to do one of
but
them.
there are a lot of good
Absolutely.
photographers out there, like I said, you don't have to do mine, you can do someone else's, but that would probably be my advice.
Dope.
Oh yeah.
Dope. Really good advice.
You guys-
Really good advice.
yeah.
Now, yeah, let's open up to the chat. Do you guys have anything? We got a lot of. Sorry, we're off in chat.
Can you see can I see the chat or no? I guess you guys see the chat.
Yes. If you pull it up on your phone or something on Twitch, though, you can read chat as well.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know if
Yeah.
there's a way to. But we can read them to you.
All right.
We have Maple and Flavio. They also do a podcast, and they're kind of just telling us about it. Uh, what do each of you shoot? Mabel says, so quick elevator pitch. I'm late. What do each of you shoot?
I guess you go first. I guess guest goes
Guest
first.
goes first. Come on.
Yeah, guest goes first.
And so I'm a street and studio portrait photographer. I would say, yeah.
Yeah, street studio.
That's my main. Yeah.
Definitely same. Honestly, I
I think
just
same too.
yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
all three of us.
It's yeah. Definitely enjoy capturing moments, people, in different places.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I've been lately. I've been diving more into the street stuff. I need. It's just a different headspace you have to be in
Mm.
to just be able to just like pull up on somebody, and pow, like get him sniped.
It's one of those things you just gotta do. You know,
Right.
you just gotta do it.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Uh, very cool into that.
yep.
Cool. Yeah, let's open up to chat on both side on both of our ends. If you guys got any questions for our guests, please send them through. If you want to keep you too long, it's running kind of late. We get the shots. Don't be a dick.
Uh, yeah. Look at their instas. Dennis, sorry, Fox and Cruz is on a different level. Yes, he is.
Yes, he
He
is.
is.
I'm not even.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
even. Yeah, no,
I'm not
no
even. I don't even
offense
feel
taken on
away.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why we brung Dennis on here to learn how he even
Yeah, to
comes up
pick
with
his brain.
this insane stuff.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
just different. Yeah.
yeah, no offense taken from either of us. We knew that from the jump.
Yeah.
You'll get there. You'll get there.
uh,
Yeah.
so we know who people are in their instas. Yeah, in the future, I tag their instas in your stream title. By the way, Maples, so we know who are their instas because no labels. I don't know who's who. Good advice. We got a good advice from these guys.
What's up?
That's cool.
They're just giving basically advice because they do streaming. So they're giving advice on some little things to fix for the next podcast, and I appreciate that a lot from them.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, because it's a good question. Because we both put his name up there, but I don't know. I didn't know that you can specifically tag.
Yeah, I had no clue either. So definitely
Yeah.
something we know for the future. But other than stream wise, do we have any more questions for Dennis? That way we don't
Yeah.
hold him up.
Yeah. Um.
Fox on left. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Oh, type /pin Instagram. Ooh. Oh yeah. What do you have shoot wise coming up, Dennis?
We're going into Sakura season, so
Mm,
that's I would say that's kind of like what the main focus will be for the next couple weeks. So I offer like I'm doing a couple client shoots with like kind of like in a secret special location that's about like 2 hours outside of Tokyo that I used last year for some Sakura shoots as well. So I'm gonna be that's pretty cool. I like that because I think to really get like the whole Sakura vibe, um, you kind of got to get out of Tokyo. Tokyo is like too crazy. There's too many people, and it's like, especially this year, I think it's gonna be like mad crazy. So I want to kind of get out of the city and go somewhere where there's like a lot less people, but like
mm,
it's like really beautiful as well.
yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. I also live like in right next to a park. So like when I get outside of my apartment, I see like sakura everywhere as well. So that's really cool. So I'm gonna do a shoot there, like right next to my place as well next week with another model friend of mine
Nice.
and maybe I might go to like I kind of had an idea to go to like Atami and go to I want to go somewhere where you can see the cherry blossoms and the ocean. you know,
Mm,
together.
that'd be
And
super sick.
That'd be
Atami is
cool.
like one of those places that you can go to apparently that like you can kind of get that both that vibe, you know. So
Super
that's
sick.
Philip on my side says, "What's Sakura shoots?"
cherry blossom, cherry blossom.
Yeah, cherry blossom. It's just like it's just doing photo shoots in the cherry blossom area,
Yeah.
or so.
Yeah, I always forget like a lot of like people might not know what sakura means, so
Mm-mm.
yeah.
Maple
Uh,
Maple ask, what is the hardest thing you've shot slash explored with your photography? And did you ever do it again?
mm.
um the hardest thing I would say, I mean, probably doing boudoir shooting like the first few times was like that was really hard because there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, Flau.
There's like literally someone like kind of half nude like in front of you like kind of thinking that you got like everything under control when you really don't. you know so yeah, I would say, but obviously I stuck with it,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that was yeah, that's always funny. Yeah.
Yeah, Flavio said he did answer a bit about an OnlyFans model on the street being kind of challenging.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny though.
we'll give it another minute for any last questions, and then
Yeah,
we'll get out of here.
that is funny. Yeah, thanks chat for the invite to the photo, the Discord thing,
Yeah,
the Discord photo
super amazing
family.
chat today.
Yeah.
Uh, Maple says, "What movie are you excited for?"
Ah,
Actually, I just got. I never heard of this. Someone had mentioned to me the other day um, that one of my photos reminds him of a Japanese director,
Hmm.
and it was what was his name? I just want to pull up the movie here.
Mabel says, happy to get you guys connected with everyone. She put a question mark at the end of that. I don't know if that's a Ugh. exclamation point. That's what we wanted.
So I guess his name is Sono Sion.
Hmm.
Sono Sion.
Yeah,
Sono.
the director. I think he's from like the '90s and aughts. He's still, I mean, he's still directing, I guess now. But there
Mm-hmm.
was a movie I wanted to watch that was called Love Exposure.
Mm.
Hmm.
I think it was from like 2009, I think. And that just looks like really, really quirky. Looks super interesting. It's kind of the storyline that I think I would really enjoy. So yeah,
Mm.
Shakespeare
that's
wrote
the
a
next.
rom-com set in 21st century Japan. This is what you get. Love
It's
Exposure
like
movie is a
it's a really
masterpiece.
weird story. It's about like some like apparently like it's like a love triangle between like this like upskirt photographer pervert, and like this like
Wow.
really weird. Yeah, it's like a very very Japanese otaku, like kind of style culture, but like
Hmm.
yeah, it's it's a very quirky, funny kind of style movie as well. So yeah.
Uh, Flavio says he loves lighting, so Villanova. I can't speak. My English is terrible. The director has to be a favorite of him. Dune is the latest movie, I think. So
Dune.
Villanova. Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah, Dune was beautiful. I mean, I watched both of them.
it's a French name. Dennis directed Dune and
Denis
Dragon.
Villeneuve. Yeah. Yeah, Denis Villeneuve is yeah,
Uh,
yeah, he's a master of lighting cinematography as well. Yeah.
mm, hell yeah. Um, Maples, you got anything else?
Sion Sono.
Yeah. Now I'm interested in seeing the movie because I looked at it and it got really good ratings.
Yeah.
Greg Fraser is the cinematographer. He did the Batman etc. He's excellent and works closely with Dennis. Hmm.
Heck yeah. I'm still going through your photos, man. God.
No. Like, yeah.
Okay, wrap it up if you want. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. It's getting late here in
Yeah.
Japan.
Cool, boys. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dennis. I definitely probably the best podcast we've had so far.
I'm honored.
A
I'm
lot
glad.
of information, a lot of looking at everything from a different point of view, especially like a business point of view, and I think that kind of opened my I can't talk for Fox, but definitely opened my mind a lot because we've been talking about how to make it in a business kind of way. Um, so definitely a lot of good advice from you, and I appreciate it a lot. Uh, yeah.
My
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for
Thank you
having me,
so
guys.
much. Yeah. And
Um,
thank you for giving us so much time.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Yeah, it was definitely it was cool. Like I haven't I haven't done a lot of these types of things before, but I do a lot of like one-on-one private kind of
Mm.
talks and that kind of stuff as well. But this kind of stuff was really cool. So yeah,
yeah,
I appreciate it.
super
Yeah.
happy. So I'm gonna pull up his Instagram. Make sure you guys show some love. Uh, talented, very talented photographer, creative. Um, and if you
Oh,
ever find yourself in the Tokyo area and you're interested, he does workshops, he does shoots. Um, so just message him, book your shoot, show some love. Uh, yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
that is pretty much it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys a lot. Flavio Maple, especially, appreciate all the advice from the stream and getting us connected into that group. We're definitely excited to be a part and see what you guys got going on.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this little channel of yours grow as well, guys. So keep
Yeah,
at it. Don't give up, and keep doing it.
yeah,
So who knows where it's gonna go.
yeah.
We're rating somebody.
Uh, Next time you stream the meetup, I'll pay 1,000 yen to watch it. Maybe we might mess around and just have the stream going while we do a meetup. Why not?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
He's
but
such a
thank you guys. Thank you,
thank
Dennis.
you.
Uh,
Mm.
Make sure you guys leave a follow. My Instagram is in the bio, and not so is Fox, but Fox the King for Fox.
Fox
We will
King.
post these videos on YouTube, so that's also attached. Um, I don't know how to rate it out, but we'll figure it out in a minute. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, we're gonna do another pod on Sunday with a girl named Becky.
Oh, nice.
So make sure you guys tune into that. We'll be back, and yeah, thank you so much again. I appreciate your time.
Cool, boys. Yeah,
Thank you,
thank
man.
you, and thanks for everyone listening. Anyone out there, as well. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. Thank you, man.
Cool, guys.
Cool.
Peace out.
See ya.
Bye, bye.
Peace.